Welcome to another episode of Crazy Train with Jasmine St. Clair. Woo! Thanks so much for joining me this week for the ride. So, there's always something for everyone on Crazy Train. And as you know, I have a pretty good, variety of guests. And I feel that everyone should be able to have a voice on here because I don't cancel people. I'm not that sensitive. I encourage people to speak their minds, especially in today's society. And I also believe in sometimes burying the hatchet for the sake of entertainment. I kind of feel bad sometimes when I beat the living crap out of Misha Montana with my kendo stick in XPW wrestling. So I decided, hey, let's maybe we should just have a chit chat and see if there are things that we agree on, things we like, and so forth. So just for the sake of my listeners, I decided to bring on Miss Misha Montana as my guest today on Crazy Train Podcast. So without further ado, Miss Misha Montana. What was this? I want to hear more about your public speaking because I think you're a very well articulated person. That's why I know you're educated somehow. And I also watched two Russians in America. I like the Russian accent, Russian.
The two Russians, yeah, well, that's very
Russian.
good, very
You'll give me
sexy, very
give me
sexy.
green card. I give you give
Give you pussy for
vodka.
green cards.
Vodka. I give you pussy for yeah. I got to get with it. I could do it though. Now, first and foremost, tell us a little bit about your public speaking events with mental health. And I do believe bullying on the internet needs to be addressed. I mean, it's I don't really
Oh,
have
it's out of control.
yeah, it doesn't bother me. I'm like, whatever. Like I was around chat rooms and stuff, but something like August Ames never should have happened. That was really sad.
No,
And that bitch who said all that stuff to her had the gall to show up at Sapphire the week after with blood on her hands, literally. I
yeah,
don't think that was right. But tell us
I
about your
don't either.
speaking engagements. Yeah, she's trash. What was her? Yeah,
Well, and that's
yeah.
unfortunately, I have stepped into this role of trying to humanize our industry because everything that you see and people, the general population has access to, it's all misinformation. It's outdated for the most part. A lot of these statistics people throw around, and I mean, and some of it's just flat out not true. And there's so much negative, regurgitated information and the stigma that's permanently attached to our industry, where you never get to actually see the positive side or the human side. We have families and we are human beings at the end of the day. And so I took on this mission to try to speak publicly, to try to at least provide education at the very least, and to have a conversation with people that oppose what we do and who we are. And it's working. For the most part, I've had some pretty big engagements with a lot of opponents of the industry, and I enjoy it. Like, and people are always like, well, you're never going to change someone's mind. Like, that might be true, but at least I'm providing another narrative that often doesn't get talked about because, and I understand people's frustration where they don't even want to attack it because it seems like such a monumental thing to try to do, and it's defeating. And believe me, it's difficult. I mean, as you know, it's incredibly difficult to do. But if we have the conversation, at least we're having it, and it's pumping something as an alternative perspective into the universe so people can make up their own minds. The not providing education is what's completely detrimental, because you have kids and young adults that are rooted in shame for how they have biological feelings about it, to not talk about it, to it's a shameful experience, and that's where you start getting all these problems and all this these outbursts and violent outbursts potentially. Like, if we can educate everyone and at least give them an option, then they can make up their own minds, and they can. And again, it's a personal issue. I think it should be left to people's households, but it's not up to us to police. So I enjoy out of control. I mean, everything you see on social media, we've unfortunately grown accustomed to have this, evil animal integrated permanently into our lives. And, you know, the kids are growing up with the internet as their role model, as their parent, as their figure in their life that they look to model after. And it's so unhealthy and downright dangerous because we're out of touch with each other as human beings. You know, you're raising little sociopaths in a sense because you stick them in front of an iPad, or, you know, they're learning from, you know, these video games and the violence that they're seeing. And plus they're learning that your worth is tied to a bullshit perception of someone on the internet. You know, they're so obsessed with the likes and the following and what can I do to, and it's all bullshit, but no one's telling them that, you know, like they're so obsessed with it, you know. And unfortunately for our businesses, you know, it's a necessary animal. And even socially, like, you, to be a part of a social ecosystem now, you have to be connected through all these apps. But the dangerous part too, especially for people like us, is when you get these anonymous predators that can hide behind a keyboard and they threaten you, they threaten your life. They go and they try to ruin, you know, take your pages down and alter your business and your cash flow. And it's a very nasty, negative place. And for children, especially, that feel so compelled to be a part of these things out of, you know, necessity for their social well-being, it's actually, you know, counterproductive because, you know, if you're not getting 100 likes on a photo and your friends are, then you're psychologically damaging yourself, and your worth is tied to these social media sites. So, you know, I think dealing with the consequences of what people say to you on the internet. I mean, I know that I can only imagine the stuff people have said to you. People say horrible things to me all day, every day, but it's how you deal with it. So my goal in speaking on it is to try to provide people with some of the tools that have helped me. I don't know if it's applicable completely all the way around, but, you know, I've learned over the years, one, I never really gave a fuck what people thought, so that helped. But, you know, it's hard when, you know, people talk about your appearance, or, like in my case, my voice, or whatever it is, the shallow, you know, low ball, uneducated kind of attacks that people choose to do. But, you know, for someone that's not used to being totally shredded by the public 24/7 like we are, I can see where people would be tempted to kill themselves or to hurt others, an outlash, you know, or Jesus Christ, like brain fart, you know, lash out because of those things. So I think it's important that we start really addressing mental health tied with social media, because as fake as social media is, the consequences are very real. And these kids are going to grow up in a world where they're totally disconnected from humans and exposed to nothing but violence and negativity and hatred on the internet all the time.
Yeah.
So I think it's important.
It's serious. And like, if you try that back then, you get the shit kicked out of you. And I just personally ignore it.
Yeah.
I was attacked by some Slobovian writer from Variety magazine. I was making a friend with one of my comedian friends. We were making a joke. Sorry, we were making a joke on Twitter. And you know, a lot of people, I think these days are they get anxiety when they have to be in person to meet someone and date someone. That's what I'd much rather do. I don't use apps. I've been thrown off of almost every dating app because I've cursed people off because I can't sit
Same.
there and do this. I got thrown off. I just made one joke that I was thrown off of JDate because they found out I wasn't. I said, is that discriminating a little bit? Because my first boyfriend was Jewish, by the way, but not Orthodox. And it wasn't making fun or fetishizing anyone. All of a sudden, this writer from like Variety or something, she like attacks me. I'm like, man, I feel bad for your husband. I think she looked kind of like her dog, to be quite frank with you. But it was so
As they usually do.
She fucks her dog. But yeah, so
as they do.
Yeah, we got to see the video, of course. But yeah, so that's the, you know, so it was so funny, but I just didn't care. I was amused by it. But people feel like they could say what they really want to on the internet and have that free speech that we can't in everyday life. and this is what I tell people all the time, is you have to really get information before you open your mouth to speak about something. I have friends that want to talk about politics with me. I'm like, don't say anything to me
Yeah.
until you read everything out there. And I
Yeah.
mean everything. I had a lot of misconceptions about climate change, and I got this 18-page document, like with real stuff from like a real scientist, and it made sense. It's probably why my power was out earlier. But it's just I feel people are underinformed about a lot of things in life, especially with
Agree.
the perils of social media. I didn't know August Ames personally, but hey, what happened to my body, my choice. That's just my thing. And it should be up to every girl who they
Yeah,
want to work
that's
with.
not applicable anymore.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Not to us, at
Well,
least.
and that's and unfortunately, like, that all contributes to, there's a lot of contributing factors there. One is the industry that we're in. People think that we are not entitled to have control over our bodies because we're, meat puppets for their entertainment. Essentially, we're not allowed to have opinions. We're not allowed to choose who we work with. We're literally just, little skin puppets, like, for them to dictate what we do with our own bodies. And that is transparent in the industry. And God forbid, in this day and age, particularly, without going into it too extensively, it's like the climate that we're in these current conditions is breeding that kind of attitude and philosophy that if you don't want to work with someone, you don't want to have the power of your own sexual freedom and the choice to do what you want with your body, then you're either racist or transphobic or whatever it may be, that your personal preferences no longer are applicable. Because if you do so without being any of those things, whatever happened to being able to have a preference with who you want? And that's an intimate thing. Like, that'd be like us telling you, like, well, then why don't you go fuck that guy down the street? Oh, you don't want to? Like, it's, you don't have control any longer over, like, what you can do with your own body to some extent. I mean, you do ultimately have the choice, right? But the pressure is there, to work with people you might not want to work with. And I think that that's dangerous. I think that a lot of these things might be good intentioned. Inclusivity is a wonderful, wonderful thing until it's not, and when it's forced so heavily to some extent, like, you're actually creating more damage than good. And you're going to create resentment. And those things are way more damaging than, you're creating a problem that didn't necessarily exist in the first place. I think that and again, that comes from lack of education and people truly, like, understanding how people operate and how they feel about it. Like, if you're just totally making problems out of nothing. So it's an interesting time to be working in this industry. I mean, it's an interesting time to be alive, period. So, but people are just, the social media has contributed to that in a negative way, because now everybody thinks that they've got the right to share their opinions, which I'm all for to some extent. But it's like, there are people that don't need to say their opinions. Like, let's be real. Not every person should have access to a soapbox. Karen from South Dakota with 3 followers, like, no one gives a fuck what you think about anything. But it's damaging, and it's giving people egos. It's giving them an outlet to voice their misinformation and their hatred and all these other things that don't contribute positively to the world whatsoever. Like, there's so many things that we try to change for the good in this world, but the entire population has contributed negatively to that, unfortunately. And it's all because of technology. We just become so technologically bound that we can't even separate from it at some point.
It's really sad. I mean, I was out yesterday and I saw a guy and a girl on a date, and they're just there at the table doing that the whole time, taking photos and doing this. It's like, if that's what
And not
you're gonna do,
talking. Yeah.
right, then stay the fuck at home, okay? Like, you're lucky you're even on a date. Like, I mean, he's in literally
A
his
real date.
pajamas
Yeah.
almost. It's like, who dresses like this? And you say something and you're a bad
Oh,
person.
yeah.
Which brings me to the next point, with trauma that comes out of this. So when you try to force people to work with someone that they would not want to, that traumatizes their experience in the adult film business. I mean, I didn't exactly get to choose guys that show up in a fucking gangbang, but hey, a circus is a circus. You gotta, I mean, it's a gangbang for the people, but it's
Sacrifices
it's
we
for the
make.
people. Yeah. But I just think that people are doing more harm than they are making this a positive experience. When you have to force, and this goes out for a lot of you internet bullies, especially you stupid performers out there that are pushing people to sound like you're cool or so PC and so edgy. You're not. What you are is a fucktard piece of shit pushing your beliefs on someone else. Let them open their vagina to whoever the fuck they want to. Let them slide their cock into whoever the hell they want to. Like, that is the truth. And when you don't do that, it's as good as a boyfriend pushing a girl into doing porn. And that is what people fail to realize. I'm sorry, I went on one of my crazy
No, that's
tangents again.
no, that's wonderful. That's beautifully spoken. I agree with that because the thing is, and here's the thing: one of the biggest arguments that people have against our industry is that they feel like women are not empowered. They're in their victims, which I completely situations like that where you're shaming people in their into working with people that they don't necessarily feel comfortable working with, then you're creating that, you're breeding that environment. You're giving the opponents exactly what they need to say, well, look at this situation. She didn't want to do that, and now she was forced into it. So now you are creating a problem that didn't exist. And now it's fulfilling the prophecy for the people that oppose what we do. If you're creating traumatic experiences, and it's so hypocritical in a sense too, because if you should have ultimate control, and my personal belief is, of your own body in every way possible. And that goes across every fucking, little check mark it could cover in every way possible. But how can if you want to have access to abortion rights, then why am I being told who I have to fuck? And I'm not saying that this has necessarily happened to me. I am very in control of who I work with and what I do, and I'm very happy, and I am lucky enough to not have had traumatic experiences like that. But I've seen it, I've witnessed it, I've heard about it. I know what's going on to some extent, but it's not indicative of the entire industry, and I would never put the industry under a bad light. But I think that it's something to be cautious of happening too, because even if it's happening here and there, which things happen, from time to time, but it ultimately is going to backfire, for one. And two, it's going to create a bigger issue for us than we already have. We already have so many problems, and we're fighting an uphill battle against everyone that hates us. And you're giving them on a silver platter. So the scrutiny that we're under all the time, I wish people would contribute in a positive way and not in a negative way. And that just seems, every time we do something positive, I open the fucking Daily Mail, and it's like, oh God, what did somebody do now? Because you realize, being in this business, you are an individual brand, but your we do matters, and it's under scrutiny. So like when you're acting and behaving a certain way, you're a public figure. Act like one. You don't have to be Mother Teresa, but at least contribute positively for your peers, for yourself, and to this world as a whole. If you are reckless and selfish and self-fulfilling gratification, get out of it. It's dangerous to the community within your community.
Yeah, you're bringing everyone down. And in a way, like when I witnessed that whole August Ames thing, I was going to go down to Sapphire's because I was in New York and say something, because you're canceling someone with this bullshit cancel culture. You're canceling them because they didn't want to have sex with someone else that they didn't want. They just didn't feel, it felt uncomfortable. And that's not how you empower yourself. You're not empowering another woman. You're empowering her to probably do something and hurt herself, but that's it, And I mean, I get traumatized on a daily basis when I see guys my age take their fucking clothes off. It's like, oh God, no, I'm not sleeping with them. God, whew, whew. Yeah.
I
You know,
love
it's
you
like
so
you
much.
guys
My
out there, you
God.
guys want to like, you want us to look good for you, right? You want us to have perfume on, you want us to do this. Then let me tell you something, get your freaking ass to cool sculpting or the gym, not Pilates, because then you'll meet another girl. Um, you know, and
That's
you do
right.
the shit we have to do because you're right. It's just a different age now for women and for men. It really
It
is.
is.
I don't know where it's
Well, I
gonna
feel
go.
sorry for some of the men, these men, like I really do. And like
Why?
I am very pro
Oh,
woman, but it's like these poor men, and I mean, you know, that's what like my argument against feminism. I mean, there's a lot, but
yeah.
one of the biggest ones is like I would never. I have a son that I want to teach how to respect women, not be degraded and demasculated by them. They're still men at the end of the day, and they still are humans, and they have, you know, they're more emotional than us. They're socially required to suppress that, right? So they already have enough, you know, issues. And so this whole thing about attacking men all the time is not being pro woman at all. Like I think, and people are like shocked to hear that, but it's like, you know, I have a son, I have a brother, I have a father. Like there are men in my life that I don't want to demasculate them. I want a man. I don't want a pussy little bitch, you know, and I don't want my son to be a pussy little bitch. So like, you know, I want to treat him with respect, and I expect respect back, you know, and that's the same with anything. Like you can't just totally degrade a whole entire sex to make yourself feel elevated. Like if it's truly about equality, then let's be equal. Like why does one have to be better than the other? Like, and I'm very pro woman, very, very pro woman, but I'm also like, there are men that deserve to be um, not completely obliterated by women at the same time. So
Yeah.
there is that.
Like I basically say that women or girls, because that's how they act, are
Mm-hmm.
basically emotionally castrating men. And you know, guys are for like your son, by the way, just for the record, her son is the most adorable thing in the world, but
He
he's a
loves
little
you.
flirt. He pinched me and it
He
was funny.
is.
I think he spanked my it was cute, but he's very well
He
behaved.
would.
And you're so fortunate.
Oh,
And a lot of these
thank
poor
you. I
boys,
am.
these girls go out there demasculinize them, making their wear man belts. Put your hair in a bun. Like we want men to be men, not this fourth wave of feminism where it's just so backwards. You know,
It
Camilla
is.
Paglia said this. This is fourth wave feminism. And when you need help moving your shit, who do you call? Toxic masculinity? They are toxic femininity, just like Amber Heard. And Johnny Depp is
Yeah,
hot.
I agree.
And his
He
wife
is
is so
hot.
gorgeous. Like she was so mean to his kids. That's what I heard because my friend lives
Yeah.
right by them. And it's so sad when people do that, you know, and we're all in this world. It's the same shitty sandbox we all have to play in. And you make the best of it. You did. I mean, you've been through a lot. And then here you are, like an empire, madam, for alt erotica. You've
Oh,
made a
thank
name for
you.
yourself. I don't know what else you're doing with yourself, but what's next for Misha Montana, except for maybe her hitting
Uh,
me with a
yeah,
cane?
we'll see
You
what
crack
happens.
me up. You're like, I have a breakaway bottle. I'm like, no, we use real bottles here. I'm not going to hit you with a bottle. I'm never going to do that. But I'm going to make the ring crew get a freaking hand. Could some fan please bring to the next XBW show in Pomona a handheld vacuum for the ring crew? That's all I want.
Oh yeah. Yeah, seriously. That's good. I support that
So,
too.
what is next for you aside from your feature
Um,
dancing?
I'm constantly doing new things. Like every day there's something new. I'm aggressively attacking a lot of adult projects that I wanted to do last year that didn't get done. So working on that. But I have a lot of mainstream stuff going on. I'm actually involved in a mainstream project that I can't talk about because NDAs are involved, but that'll be exciting news soon. I've got a documentary crew with me next week from Norway, which is really cool. Just like it's constantly elevating and changing. I'm, you know, speaking more publicly and getting those kind of opportunities. So it's a whirlwind all the time. Like it's constantly busy, but it's wonderful. And I think it's branching out in so many different ways. Like, you know, adult and wrestling and then mainstream stuff and then advocating and politically being involved and all these different things. Like, I mean, one of those things would be it is a full-time job, let alone doing all 15 of them all the time. But it's like, I love it. Like, I love the pace. I don't intend on slowing down anytime soon. So, and then I'll be seeing you in Pomona, my dear, in a few weeks.
No, it's true. You can't slow down. And Norway is a great place. I lived in Norway for like 8 years. So I probably know who your documentary filmmaker friends are.
Oh, cool.
I did a lot of things there.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's a fun,
great.
fun thing doing documentaries. I think that's awesome. I had someone offer me something for a mini series. I said no, because no actress out there could ever play me. And people think I'm stupid for like saying no, but I don't think I was stupid. I mean, what am I gonna do? Fuck up my life story because like someone thinks they're cool enough to be me? No, that doesn't happen. Example, the Angeline
I don't want to be portrayed.
No, we can't be portrayed because no method acting can ever teach you anything. And that's coming from someone who took every method acting class out there.
I was going to say, who is a method actor?
There's a lot of it out there, but we never covered anything like that. So you do the feature dancing. I used to have like candle wax on the stage. I let guys pour candle wax on me. I used to
so tight. They wouldn't let me do it last time. Like, I was trying to do like the shows and the cool, like the little poppers out of your pussy and everything. And like, they wouldn't let me. It was strictly like, you dance.
They're not looking at the way you're dancing, baby. Trust me.
No, they don't give a shit about the dancing, which is apparent because if you see me, I can't do it. So
obviously. So what do we have? Like, where could people find you socially and your social media? And of course, I'm going to plug it.
Thank you, my dear. All my socials are at the Misha Montana, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and MishaMontana.com, OnlyFans.com/Misha Montana. All kinds of crazy stuff. We're on YouTube at Two Russians, One America. I have my own personal channel on there as well that's growing a little bit. So I'm gonna start putting stuff up on that. So lots of crazy things coming for sure.
And what about what is it? Oh, your OnlyFans.
OnlyFans is Misha Montana. OnlyFans.com/Misha Montana.
And do you have any intentions of ever getting back into politics again?
Yes, I do actually. At some point, we'll see, see what happens. I might even consider a run one day in the future. I don't know if that's a realistic possibility of securing a win, but I definitely would run for sure. So, I still work in politics kind of behind the scenes, like as a hobby more than anything. But I would like to be more involved. I just don't have the time that needs to be dedicated to that venture. But no, I love politics, and it was a hard choice to leave politics because I really did love it. It's just a frustrating beast, in every sense of the word. So I would love to be back in politics one day. Maybe we'll run for
I was going to say that, or at least let me handle your campaign. I've handled campaigns,
yes.
And let me tell you, I'm more corrupt than any politician out there. You'll get in. You will, yeah. And it's a really big thing these days. I work on 2 political shows as well.
Yeah.
And it's a tough thing being able to have your mind heard. And it's sad that that's what it's come down to. The people, no matter what side you're on, your silence. But everyone, just like what Misha said before, is everyone needs to listen to one another and get your facts, get your information, and don't bash people for what they do, what they think, or any so forth, and anything like that, because we all have to play in this filthy little sandbox called the world together. And you never know who you're going to deal with down the line, kidlings.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
So see you guys in Pomona, those of you listening. And don't forget, someone just bring a freaking handheld vac and
do it.
Yeah. Thanks for hopping on the crazy train with us, and look out for Misha Montana all over the World Wide Web. Oh!
Yay! See you in Pomona.
I hope you're enjoying the ride on Crazy Train with Jasmine St. Clair podcast. So if you are, do me a huge, huge favor. Please go ahead. Go on to Apple Podcasts or Spotify or whatever, but Apple's great. Give me a nice rating and review. Send me a screenshot, and I promise you, I will send you a special goodie bag. So please rate and review Crazy Train with Jasmine St. Clair podcast. And in exchange for that, once I see the DM with the review and your name and address, I will get those gift bags out to you. I'm not going to tell you what's in it.